Thanksgiving is upon us. It's the DNA show. Hello, everybody. We are here with another movie review in a few. Because it is Thanksgiving week, it ain't dropping Friday, it's dropping today. And to stay in the theme, we saw Thanksgiving, the new slasher flick directed by Eli Roth. Is it worth your time? We'll let you know. What's
We
it
will
about,
do,
Dennis?
we will do the non-spoiler up front, and then we're going to cut over to spoilers, but we'll give you a warning. This movie, after a Black Friday riot, ends in a tragedy. A mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer terrorizes Plymouth, Massachusetts. Yes, the birthplace of Thanksgiving. Picking off residents one by one, what begins as a random revenge killing are soon revealed to be part of a larger, sinister holiday plan. Will the town uncover the killer and survive the holidays, or become guests at the twisted holiday dinner table?
Ooh. Um, right out of the gate, it's like Dennis said, it's a younger type. Well, he didn't say this, but it deals with the cast of high school kids, seniors. You got the typical jocks that play football, their girlfriends. The actors that look like they're probably in college or mid-20s, but they're in high school. I tell you, girls didn't look like that when I went to high school. Just saying. The jocks did, however. But yeah, it's a slasher flick. Seems to be going around. Last year was Violent Night. Now we've got this one. It's pretty basic, A to Z. There are some twists in it. Overall acting wise, Patrick Dempsey's in it. He's probably the biggest actor, I would say, out of the whole cast.
He is. He is.
Um,
Gina Gershon, she shows up.
yep,
Good to
she's
see
in it.
her again, and we'll just leave it at that for now.
Yeah, and the star of the movie from the high school side of things, the lead actress, she is very familiar. I know I've seen her in other things, but I don't recall her name. You might have it over there.
It's Nell Valacue.
Yeah.
And I didn't know her from anything. She is very familiar in terms of, she reminds me a lot of Jessica Alba. She
Yeah.
has very good on-screen presence, and you kind of like her character right out of the gate. So she was a good lead.
Yeah, she's the sweet, innocent girl. Her father is the one that owns this big box store where the tragedy the year before takes place. He's another actor you'd recognize. You got his name?
Yeah, it's Rick Hoffman. He's
Yeah.
a character. He usually plays a butthead in a lot of the movies, and
Yeah.
he just has that look on him. He's a good character typed actor.
He is. But he always he always does a good job. And he usually is kind of an a-hole type character. He's not that bad in this movie.
Right.
Um
Well, he played in Hostel, which, Eli
uh,
also had
True.
directed. So, he kind of stuck with family there.
Yeah. This is R-rated. It is definitely gory. Some of the kills, we'll say, I thought were pretty inventive. I'm all about practical special effects, and I think they did a really good job there. Um, I don't know what else you want to say about it. I mean, plot wise, we gave you the plot. There's not too much to delve into. It's the spoiler part of the review when we do that we'll
Yeah,
get more into.
there's a lot in the spoiler part. I'm going to say, we had wound up seeing It's a Wonderful Knife in lieu of this, because this was only showing at one time. So, this was so much better. I actually think this is one of the best openings to a slasher movie that I have seen. I thought it was engaging. It got me interested in the characters. It really painted the picture, because this is all about the good people, the bad people, and what happens when things go awry. But it's all about people's reactions and how they handle situations. I think it was just a great setup. I will say the first act was phenomenal. The second act was phenomenal. And third, they had to me, a really good ending point And I was like, oh, that's a cool wrap up. And there's another 15 more minutes that we go through. And I was like,
Right.
don't know if I would have done that, but I'll just say they left it open for a sequel.
Yeah, and we'll definitely talk about that in the spoiler part. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think it was fun. They try to lead you down certain directions and stuff, and misguide you and whatnot, obviously, because it's a mystery. So who is the killer? Uh it's good because it makes you pay attention and focus, because going into this movie, that's what their intent is. So you're trying to pick up on things. And I really did think setting the whole stage up for the killings the following year after the horrific event at the big box store that had to open Thanksgiving night was good, because it really does show just how crazy it is. I mean, when I was growing up, when Dennis was growing up, hell, even 20 years ago, having a store open on Thanksgiving night for Black Friday was just unthinkable. And I wish we would get back to that. I cannot
Yep.
stand stores kicking off Black Friday
I refuse
on
to shop.
Thanksgiving night.
Nope. I refuse to shop, and anybody that does. And I've gone out a couple of times many years ago, and it's not quite to the extent that this movie showed it, but it is close. I mean, it is crazy to the point where my wife and I will never do it again. We're done. But why don't
Yeah.
we rate this so we can really start delving into it?
Okay. You went first last week, I believe. I will go this week. Let's see. Last week we were really close. Let's see where we are on this one. I'm actually giving this one a 7.5. I enjoyed it. It was a good slasher flick. It wasn't just cookie cutter. Like I said, when you do these movies, you have to really think about different ways to amp up, basically the kills, because that's what people are going for. I don't even call these horror movies anymore. you know
No, this
so
one was straight up a slasher.
so what do you
Um,
go?
there's no. We are pretty close to this. I am going an 8.0, and I really enjoyed this one by comparison to the last movie. I
Yeah.
thought the story especially the beginning. This was a fun, enjoyable story, and you didn't really care a lot about the some of the characters. You got your stereotypes until they became suspects. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, suddenly I'm a little more invested in this character. And that I think
Right.
that really, really helped it out. The plot was good, it was enjoyable, and we'll delve into more in the spoilers there. But overall, yeah, I recommend this one. I think it was definitely worthwhile to see. I'm glad we saw it in the theater, and the people around us, we did not have a packed theater. They all seem to enjoy it as well.
Yeah. All right. Any IMDb, Rotten Tomato stuff?
Yeah, we actually got scores. IMDb is a 7.1. So, yeah, that's pretty good. And Rotten Tomatoes, critics are at an 82, audience is a 79. So, yep,
Uh-huh.
they actually are in agreement for once with us.
Well, would you look at that? All right, guys, you know what time it is. If you don't want spoilers, it is your time to leave. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share, leave a comment below. And now we're going to talk spoilers. First out of the gate, uh, one of the tip off you could say, well, before I even ask, I know we're doing spoilers, but sometimes we don't go super deep into spoilers. Are we talking about, are we going to say who the killer is?
We will later at the end.
Okay.
That way people can
You
stick around.
know, like we were saying, the movie starts off basically setting up the characters. Patrick Dempsey shows up for a Thanksgiving dinner. He's the sheriff of the town at what seems to be his buddy's house. His buddy's obviously, married, kid, whatever. Gina Gershon is the wife of his buddy.
Mitch.
She meets him at the door. He's like, "Oh, I baked something for dinner, blah, blah, blah." The buddy, unfortunately, he's the manager of this big box store. He gets called into work. to the store on Thanksgiving night. You cut over to the rich dude's house who owns the store. And, the daughter, like we said, is the main actress that plays the high school senior, the lead actress. And, he's definitely in a bigger house, mansion, that type of thing, because he owns this big box store. His original wife passed away, so now he's got this, I would say, a little bit younger of a wife. I mean, not super younger, but a little bit. She's another recognizable actress we probably should have touched on before. She's attractive, but she's definitely the more bitchy, of course we're open, got to make that money type. So
yeah. No, I was gonna say, Mitch. It goes in there. The owner of the box store. We don't want to name it because you'll know it when you see it. The owner of the box store is like, no, we got to stay open. He hires 2 security guards, and they're basically, everybody's clamoring to get free waffle irons for the first 100 customers.
Gotta get it, man.
And that's what sets everybody off. So the friends, he needs a cell phone. They're driving to a party. He goes, well, we'll stop in. Your dad's got it. We'll sneak in the back door. And you find out he had gotten into a fight with a guy from the opposing football team earlier. And he's there, and they see them in there, and the kids start taunting him by holding up the waffle irons and playing with it. And that sets off the crowd, who's all upset that people are in. And it literally becomes one of those scenes that we've seen on the news where they start trampling everything. And this is our first foray into the really good practical effects of people getting killed, trying to bust through the doors, glass slicing a guy in the neck as he's trying to get through on the broken glass. And he grabs one of the waffle irons as he's bleeding out and collapses. And one of the women that are walking by rips the free iron out of his hand.
Yeah, I mean, it is stuff that not actually happened from the deaths. I mean, there probably have been some, but just the point of a mob like this, one security guard gets trampled underneath the glass doors because they break down. This kid, or not kid, but senior, that's dating the lead actress that's in high school, is a baseball star. He gets his wrist broken in a pretty gnarly way as it gets stepped on. The other football players, like Dennis said, that got in the store earlier, taunting everybody, and they're filming it and stuff. And, there is the one waitress at the diner, you'd recognize her, character actress, little portly woman, real bitch, just only cares about getting her stuff, and then, a year later, this is a spoiler too, but it's a spoiler section. Gina Gershon goes by to give her husband, the manager, some leftovers. She gets trampled. She ends up dying.
In a very cool, it's almost scalping like scene.
Oh yeah, once again
by the carts, but it was a really interesting scene. Not super violent, but violent enough where you're like, oh damn, because you can picture this happening.
Yeah, and something more killed her, I would think, than just the scalp. It was kind of like a scalping, but once again, practical effects done really well. Different way of offing somebody, which is what you go to these to see. If it was just a knife for everything, you'd be like, who cares? So then you flash to a year later, and this is when the killing starts on Thanksgiving a year later. And of course, the killer is targeting everybody that he thinks was behind this event.
Right, and it shifts from like members of her own party, because they were all inside the store when this happened, to the security guard, the one that ran away, versus the one that was already killed there. The owner of the store who had opened it up, and this is where they start. All right, is it the boyfriend, old boyfriend? Is it the new boyfriend? Is it, and they start, painting different opportunities on the different actors, and they do it in a really cool way where we are sitting there trying, you're always trying to figure it out. And Andy leaned over, he goes, "Do you have a guess who it is?" And I was like, "Shh," because this winds up being the trope that's why didn't want to say anything to the movie. You have heard us talk about this in so many horror slasher films. Never let the killer be an important actor.
Right. And that's once again, even though he gave it an 8, I gave it a 7.5 because it is very entertaining. I guess if you've been around the block like we have in regards to living long enough to see a lot of movies and such, you look at the cast and you go, well, that's a pretty big actor for this movie. That, unlike Five Nights at Freddy's, where Matthew Lillard didn't have a huge part, you're like, why is he in this? And then it's pretty obvious. We talked about it. He was the killer. Patrick Dempsey, while he's the sheriff trying to help out and stuff, you're still kind of like, why is Patrick Dempsey in this movie?
Yeah. Like I said, they rode that trope, and it detracted from it. I almost wish it was somebody else because it would have made sense. There were two parts that jumped the shark in this movie, and one of them was like this instant teleportation that the sheriff has. They just got done with some great scenes where they literally put Kathleen, the wife, they're putting butter on her. He's captured her and stuff, and he's like dousing her up for butter, got her like all set. She's going in this large oven, this like super large oven. And that scene, I was just going to say, was really freaking cool. And the follow-up scene where they serve Thanksgiving dinner was even better. It was a payoff. You knew it was coming, but you couldn't take your eyes away from it. And you're like, oh! And
oh, yeah.
Start cutting and carving up the turkey. All of a sudden, you were just like, oh! Even I was like, oh, snikey.
Yeah, it's a flinching moment. I mean, the killer's live streaming stuff on Instagram, tagging people in these photos as the movie goes on. And like Dennis said, it culminates with this Thanksgiving dinner where there's people he already killed that he props up. There's people he kidnapped that he wanted there at this dinner alive that he has bound and gagged. And then, of course, the main course. We were talking after the movie. We figured out where the killer was at before, the cops did, where he was held up doing this. Pretty much figured out who the killer was. But even with all that being said, it was well done. I thought it was fun. I like generally the Eli Roth's movies. So, and actually,
this was taken directly from those of you that have seen Grindhouse. This was one of the commercial trailers that was in Grindhouse, and they were like, you know what? Like Machete, let's just make this a full-blown movie. So they fleshed out this concept, and I think it's a winner.
Yeah, so do I. I would recommend it if you want to see it in the theaters and you got nothing else to do on Thanksgiving. If you're not having a house full of people like Dennis, and you're more like me, where it's just myself, my wife, and my daughter, sniff, sniff, and you want to get out and see a movie, you go check this out or go check it out beforehand.
And then
I think you'll enjoy it.
Trains and automobiles afterwards to cleanse your palate if you don't like slasher films.
I will be watching Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It is my favorite Thanksgiving movie. I will definitely be watching that for sure.
And WKRP in Cincinnati, the turkey episode. A must-watch every Thanksgiving.
It is, if you can find it, though. And another must-have is Nice and Tight, the comic book pencil art of Andy Smith. That's me. 52 pages, glorious pencils, reproduced from the scans that I made, high-res scans that I made to send to the editor. And sometimes the pencils were sent straight to the inker through email as well. Other times they inked their originals, but now you get a peek behind the curtain to see what the full pencils look like. 52 pages, oversized book. Once we hit $5,000, less than $500 to go to get there, the book will become 60 fantastic pages. It is also a digital format. So, hey, if you want to download pages and practice digital inking, go ahead. Want to make your own blue lines? Knock yourself out. It's a book to have on your shelf to cherish and look through as a collectible and analyze the art and what goes into full penciling, as well as a utility to help you with whether it be full penciling or inking. There's a sketchbook I'm re-releasing that I did about 10 years ago. It's one of my favorites, 64 pages. I'm adding 20 pages of new content to it. Lots of cool stuff you can get. Examples here. Go check it out. Link is in the description below. 54 backers right now, $4,563. So definitely check this out. Next week, we already know the movie. We already got our tickets. It is Godzilla -1, if I recall. That's the exact title, Godzilla -1.
Very excited.
What else comes out next week, which I didn't know came out December 1st, that we're going to have to catch? Who knows? Maybe 2 in a week. Silent Night. Did you know that comes out next week?
Yeah, I didn't realize it was next week, but yeah,
I know.
We're gonna have to fit that one into.
I thought that came out in 2 or 3 weeks, but nope, it's next week too, with Joel Kinnaman. I hope I said that right. So that is it. We'll be back next Wednesday, 3 p.m. Got a couple guests lined up. Stay tuned. And until then, everybody have a very happy Thanksgiving. Have a safe holiday. Watch football. Go Cowboys.
Ugh.
Go Niners. Go
And
Lions.
Go Packers. That's right.
Lions. Nice and Tight, the comic book pencil art of Andy Smith. That's me. This book features 52 pages of some of my favorite full pencils that I did for other companies over the past 2 decades. The raw pencils as they were seen by the inker, and now you can see them for the first time. This book also comes in a digital format so you can practice your inking in your favorite program. Back it today.